We are truly living in the end times. The descriptions of Revelation are coming true right before our eyes. You would have to be willingly blind to not see it. I know this topic bothers a lot of people, and some wish I wouldn't discuss it, but there is brand new evidence out now, and it is all over the mainstream media, that there is true justification for this description of New Babylon, or Babylon the Great, North America, described as the harlot in the Bible. Many thought that it was an allegory for spiritual harlotry. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What is going on right now is harlotry on a scale that the world has never seen. And we're going to cover this, and we're going to show some constitutional stuff and some articles that jive perfectly with what the Bible says. But first, as always, I want to say thank you, humbly, to everyone who joins us here at the Florida Maki YouTube channel every single day, engages in the conversation. Here, we have to kind of keep the gloves on. We have to behave in a PG-13 manner. We can't talk about things in certain contexts and using certain language. We have to censor ourselves. And that's fine. We can have a decent PG-13 conversation. But over at the Florida Maki Patreon channel, where we've installed a speed bump, a $1 speed bump, we can take the gloves off. And we can talk about things in real terms, like adults, and not have to worry about looking over our shoulder and wondering if the video is going to get taken down or we're not going to be allowed to speak. We can partner with Vimeo to do that. And I very much appreciate everyone who has continued to file in over there. If it were an auditorium, we would need to be thinking about putting on an addition very soon. So many people are over there. Thank you very, very much for signing up. I really do appreciate it. Only $1 per month, lowest allowable level, fully refundable first 90 days, no risk to you. Whether you sign up for the $1 a month or you get the break where it's less than $1 a month and you sign up for a year at a time, first 90 days. At any time, if you say, you know what, this is just not for me, you can get everything you've put in back first 90 days. No questions asked. So would love to have you over there. Thank you once again to everyone who's continued to sign up over there. We talk largely about psychological operations, and the reason that dovetails with what we're talking about here today is because they have engaged in psyops to keep people from seeing this. They have moved the goalposts, so to speak. That's a particular fallacy. We talk about the 24 cognitive biases, 24 logical fallacies that affect people, that keep them from seeing the truth. Moving the goalposts is one of these tactics. That's where they have to now change the discussion. And I put together this quick collage of 5 different statements regarding liberty. But moving the goalposts, it was argued for a long time that prostitution was a victimless crime. It was basically capitalism. It was a private form of free market capitalism. You had somebody who had money, somebody who didn't, and an exchange of services was done, period. Nobody else involved. Now, sometimes it took place on street corners and in dark alleys and in business districts, when nobody was there at night. And some said, well, it's starting to leach out into the public, and that's where it becomes a problem, and then there's other people that get involved. They've moved the goalposts. That's called redefining the argument. Now they're saying, well, now we're going to have to cook up some victims and call it human trafficking. You see what they did there? You see, prostitution wasn't good enough because people could make that argument. But now when you call it human trafficking and you add in a third person, then you can criminalize everybody on a global scale because it's a global federal crime. And then they'll, go out and do their stings, and then they'll try to find somebody and make an allegation of this person making this person do something they don't want to do and all this kind of stuff, when the vast majority of it, that's not the case. Now, real quick, this collage. It's kind of a thought process that you have to go down to realize that liberty is an individual thing. It's never a group thing. Let's start in the upper right. Emergencies have always been the pretext on which the safeguards of individual liberty have been eroded. 2020 proved this. That's a quote from Friedrich August von Hayek. Emergencies are the pretext that they use to take away your individual liberty. Liberty is not collective. It is personal. All liberty is individual liberty. Now, let's move to the upper left. Disobedience is the true foundation of liberty. The obedient must be slaves. And 2020 proved this. I know a lot of people are right in lockstep. I get it. They tried to make me do this, this, and this. They tried to make me inject that, and that was violation of my personal liberty. All liberty is that way, especially those of you out there, the Second Amendment types. It's personal protection, isn't it? I prefer liberty, next quote, with danger, than peace with slavery. If you say these things, that you prefer liberty with certain amounts of danger, and that disobedience is the true foundation of individual liberty, and that it, finally, in the bottom left, often safer to be in chains than to be free, then this should be something like, well, yeah, it's dangerous, but it's a personal choice. And can it possibly affect the whole? Well, it could, but liberty is individual. We don't take away individual liberties to protect the group as a whole, do we? That's a bad idea, right? Remember the whole argument about masks? We don't take away individual liberties on the idea that something bad might happen to the larger group as a whole. Now, those of you that think that I'm inventing this, January 31, 2023, Fox, California prostitution law allows sex abuse to run rampant. Pay attention to the dates. 31 January 2023. 12 February 2023, California politicians suggest fix to state's brazen prostitution, legalize it. 22 February, yesterday, 2023, as California police fight rampant prostitution, Johns line up like they're at a fast food drive-thru. 23 February, this morning, California police chief blasts state law, blamed for sparking prostitution crisis, needs to be repealed. So here's 4 articles in the last month. Just in the last month. Talking about this. Now, I started making videos on this a year ago, because that's when I started to see, people bleed away from the channel. It was a year ago I called this. That law only went into effect a few months ago. The new one. It hadn't even been put forth to California's legislature. At the time, I said this was going to be the big issue coming up. When things get rough and things get expensive and people get backed into corners, financially speaking, and they don't have any other choices, you are going to see a huge explosion in this. And people said, oh, Florida Maki, you're just wishful thinking. You just love prostitutes and you love the whole idea. No, absolutely not. We had this issue here in Florida where this girl, in the privacy of her own home, engaging in what you would call basically digital prostitution, was banned from volunteering at her son's school. Now, she didn't show up wearing her OnlyFans stuff or wearing bikinis or wearing anything like that. She was just there because she had extra time. She made enough money working online in that digital environment to be able to go volunteer, and they banned her from doing this. Now, those of you arguing, well, prostitution ruins marriages and it ruins life. So does porn. I'd make the argument that digital prostitution, has ruined far more marriages and far more lives than streetwalkers have, just because of the sheer amount of availability. Are we delisting domains? And those of you think that this would be impossible to stop, it is super easy to shut down a website. You just delist the domain. That's all the government would have to do. If the government was so worried about the moral implications and the destruction of the nuclear family and all this kind of stuff, all you got to do is delist browsers, delist Pornhub, Xvideos, Xhamster, all those. Just delist them. Anybody who would type in the website would get a 404. 404 not found. It's just that easy. But wouldn't that be a violation of liberty? Of those putting the sites up, those going to the sites, those working for the sites? You see, this is a tough one for a lot of people. And I know it's not a popular topic. People don't like to talk about this. But once again, in the last month in California, it's exploded. And it's all over in other venues that people don't like to talk about. This particular individual had her son suspended from school. That's right. Had her son suspended from school when they found out his mom did this. Now, she's a multimillionaire. She could build her own elementary school. She's got enough money. So she has to homeschool now. But she had sent her kid to public schools because she wanted him to have a normal life, normal experience. What about this? Florida Maquis, that's a country album. Yeah. It's a country album where all of the imagery in it, the three artists are all dressed like Southern prostitutes. And there's literally songs about it on the album. And they go and they tour dressed as prostitutes all the time. I haven't ever heard, and here's them in a church, by the way, promoting the album. I mean, Ashley Monroe, Angelina Presley, Miranda Lambert, haven't heard a word about anyone saying that the album should be retracted or taken offline or having a NC-17 label slapped on it or a TVMA for the videos associated. It's very interesting that certain things are completely ignored, totally ignored, but other things that have nothing to do with anyone are made to be like it's the end of the world. See, this is what they're having to fight with. And it's a tough thing if you're a capitalist, because if you're a capitalist, you're for free market. You're for people making money any way they can. And if it's two people and it's their business, to say that I want government now to step in and intervene because a third party might be involved. Well, I mean, you see the girl standing there on the corner and she's got the tight whatever on, the lipstick or hair done up, whatever. And she's just standing there. You know, someone might be trafficking that person, so we should give the police the ability to go cuff and stuff. See, that doesn't sound to me like someone who's liberty-minded. You see, wouldn't that be kind of a strange thing that, what if those of you who are for what they call constitutional carry, you see somebody standing on a street corner and they've got a gun on their hip. Well, they could be a shooter. We should go arrest them just to be sure. Florida Maquis, the Second Amendment gives us a right to care. Okay, I get that. But the entire Constitution gives us a right against unnecessary, unwarranted searches and seizures. The right to be secure in one's person and papers. How is this just the idea of a girl standing on a street corner in certain kind of makeup, certain kind of dress, and somebody pulls up and stops and she walks over and talks to him? How is that evidence of a crime? How is that evidence of threat to society? Well, she gets in and they walk away. I mean, for all you know, really, I mean, he could just think she's cute and they're going to have dinner. I mean, probably not, but are we really going to go down that road where we give police that kind of authority to then pull those people over and ask them what the hell they're doing? I mean, think about that for just 1 minute. Some woman stranded on a street corner, dressed a little bit alluring, and guy pulls up and says, "Hey, how you doing? You want to ride somewhere and go get a bite to eat?" She said, "Sure." Hops in and they go get a bite. That's warrant now? That's warrant now to be pulled over by the police. You see, that's what they got rid of in California. This is another part of the PSYOP. That's what they got rid of in California. You see, that used to be the case. A girl standing on a street corner could have gotten picked up just for looking a certain way, just for getting in a car. And you could be pulled out and questioned. Do you know this person? Do you know that person? They could run priors. All this kind of stuff is horrible. And so that got repealed because California said that's a violation of individual liberty. And now the police are flipping out about it. Because it's, they can't just randomly arrest people who look like they might be engaging possibly in criminal activity. So, maybe, where am I wrong? Please, somebody down in the comments, tell me, where am I wrong on this liberty thing? Where have I messed up? Because even the most moral people aren't perfect, are they? Does that mean we need to have their liberty taken away? I know that the argument's coming that, well, to have liberty, you have to have a moral and Christian society. Well, even the most moral and Christian society has those in it who are fallen, those in it who are imperfect, those in it who are bound to make a mistake at some point. Isn't that true? I don't care how good of a person you think you are. You, I, everyone else need the blood of Jesus Christ to be forgiven. So we have the ability to fail. And since it can be proven that we're all fallen and that we're all, in a state of sin and rebellion against God just by who we are. Doesn't it say, upper left, disobedience is the true foundation of liberty, and only the obedient must be slaves? Henry David Thoreau. That should then be licensed to say, okay, government, put the police out there. Yeah, they're good and decent and moral and Christian people, but they might make a mistake. They might sin, and boy, I tell you what, the moment they sin, we need you there on behalf of the moral foundation of us all to snatch them up and put them in a police car. Because if any sin is allowed to go unpunished here on earth, then we have all failed, haven't we? We no longer have a country. See, that's the argument. Are you for that argument? Like I said, we're going to go into this a little bit more in detail, for lack of a better term, over on Patreon. And if you'd like to join us there for that, $1, not per video, not per week, per month. It's only $1 per month. Would love to have you over there. God bless. Thanks again. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.